ऑब्वियसली नहीं अच्छा लग रहा है कि वो वैसे वहाँ पे सर्वाइव करे।
तो ऑलरेडी एक रॉन्ग डिसीजन की वजह से हमारा अमाउंट 0 हो चुका है।
भाई ये बहुत गर्मी है।
मैं वही बोल रही हूँ, कैसे सर्वाइव करे, मैं नहीं रह सकती।
मैं तो रो देता।
आप लोग डिसाइड करें क्योंकि भूख आप सबको लगता है।
हम ये सोच रहे हैं कि हमें 30,000 में मिल क्या रहा है।
पलक
जी,
अब बिग बॉस आपका फैसला जानना चाहते हैं।
Vimal Ilaichi presents Bigg Boss OTT, powered by 2yum Chips. हर रात 9
It's been
बजे।
a few days since Palak has been evicted out of the Bigg Boss OTT Season 2 house. We've had a few discussions, and I think she's been going through a lot of emotion, and so have I, as a spectator and as someone who's lived that experience. So, Palak, tell me, firstly, I mean, thank you for joining me on Filme Shilmy. I'm so sorry you've left, but how have things been for you so far?
Mixed feelings. This was the same question asked to me before I was leaving for the show. I feel the same right now. There are too many mixed feelings, man. There are days I was like, obviously 2 days I was so sad. I was disappointed with myself as to, was I not able to prove myself? Where did I lack? Blah, 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 blah. Because I thought like 4 days is not enough to prove yourself in the show. Because obviously, a day or two you take to especially when it's such a challenge that they're putting you into the house after 2 days, where people have already made their own allies, they've become close, they've become friends, and then in that particular situation you've been put in the house, especially when you know that there are two exes of yours who are already present. One was my ex-best friend, one was my stupid ex-boyfriend. Moving on. So so that was like a challenge for me, which I was like, okay, chalo ye bhi paar kar lenge. And then Bigg Boss had actually put me into another challenge where I had to collect the BB currency to survive in the house. For which I was pretty much successful. And but then the journey was very short-lived, man. So kind of disappointed. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think before you went in, I think there was a bit of a situation, obviously, because there was आपने गलती की थी, and then obviously things,
Correct.
especially with one particular housemate, Pooja Bhatt, it almost seemed like she held it against you. I think
He
even
called me a rule breaker the moment I entered.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, I mean, obviously you realized your mistake, and you had
I did. I apologize. I did apologize to the channel, the team, Salman sir. यार हम थोड़े बेवकूफ हो जाते हैं एक्साइटमेंट में, ऐसा हो जाता है कि आप दोस्तों को बता देते हो, तो वो मुझसे थोड़ी गलती हो गई. Only one thing that I could, if I get a chance to redo, I would do that, because कहीं ना कहीं वो चीज उन्होंने hold की against me. And even in the game from day one, I thought she had that judgment against me that, oh, ye sunti nahi hai, she's very loud. And the rule breaker tag that she gave me already without even knowing me, which is not fair. So, yeah.
I think, Palak, I would like to know, actually, जाने से पहले आपका क्या इरादा था, और एक्सपीरियंस करने के बाद क्या वो आपको लगता है कि क्या वो इरादा सफल हुआ या नहीं हुआ?
Honestly, Anuj, I went inside the house with a clean slate. I didn't have any game plan as such. Oh, this is what I want to do. I'm gonna rip my ex off. या मैं जिया से मेरी दोस्ती हो जाएगी, नहीं होगी, या दुश्मनी पालूंगी. It was no plan as such that I went inside with. But definitely इरादा तो ये था कि सेंचुरी मार के आऊंगी. पिटारा खोलने से पहले ही वो पिटारा ढप हो गया मेरा, क्योंकि लेके तो मैं बहुत कुछ गई थी कि मुझे बहुत कुछ करना था घर के अंदर, बट वो मौका नहीं मिला. 5 days was not enough for me, but although I did, मेरी काफी लोगों से दोस्तियां हुई, जिया के साथ रीयूनियन हुआ, थोड़े पंगे भी हुए जिसमें से एक पूजा मैम और अविनाश के साथ. एंड जहाँ पे सही और गलत जहाँ मुझे लगा, आई डिड स्पीक अप फॉर माई सेल्फ, डिड डिफेंड माई सेल्फ टिल अ सर्टेन एक्सटेंट. So yeah, I mean, इरादा तो था काफी टिकने का, बट वो पूरा नहीं हो पाया.
Right. But why do you think, I mean, Avinash and Jia having that sort of, behavior issue with you, obviously we can understand why, because you have a history. But why do you think yeah, exactly. So why do you think with maybe housemates like Pooja Bhatt, why do you think that there was that sense of friction between you both? I mean, what do you think is the reason, maybe?
Between me and Pooja Bhatt?
Mm-hmm.
So I personally feel she likes people who soothes her ego. Trying to tell her, oh, ma'am, you're right. Oh, you're such an inspiration. You're this, you're that. So she likes people who do that to her and are good listeners because she has that upper hold and upper hand on those 5 people sitting together. I am myself a leader, Anuj. I don't like to go according to others, you know. I don't like कि मैं किसी के अंडर दब के रहूं या मुझे अपनी आवाज नीची करनी पड़ेगी to even, you know, try to be in her good books. I couldn't play that safe game, you know. I don't like you. I don't like your vibe. I don't like it. Because from day one, she was very non-welcoming. It's not like I didn't try to, know her. I even told her, "Ma'am, आप मेरे साथ 5 मिनट बैठो तो सही मुझे जानने की तो कोशिश करो before having your own prejudgments about me कि तुम superior हो, तुम loud हो, तुम सुनती नहीं हो, बा 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 जो भी है." जबकि ये सब चीजें उन्हें बेबिका को बोलनी चाहिए technically because she is loud. She is very negative. She passes personal comments on people. तो जहां पे उन्हें ज्ञान देना चाहिए वहां तो उन्हें ज्ञान दिया नहीं बट जिस इंसान को आप जानते भी नहीं हो उन्हें आपने खूब सारा ज्ञान दे दिया सो तभी शायद मेरी और पूजा मैम की नहीं बन पाई बिकॉज आई कुडंट she told me to be a leader you have to be a slave so sorry ma'am I'm not in the game to be a slave so
Right. And, you know, I think this season has raised some very pertinent questions. I think recently, I mean, in Alia's eviction, I think there was some very important dialogues that have been taking place when we talk about, you know, women supporting women and that whole idea of, uh, of having healthy conversations about that and providing a safe space. But then I think also ageism has become a very very important topic that has arisen as well over the last few days. How do you think that, you know, a show like this, do you think it will guide such conversations in the right direction, or do you think it can perhaps lead to very pseudo and dangerous, perspectives developing in our society too?
So I personally feel she's always picked up this word and statement as your generation is something I don't understand. तुम लोग की generation ही ऐसी है. Bigg Boss is a kind of a show जहाँ सब जिसने कम काम किया और जिसने ज्यादा काम किया we all are on the same platform. We all should be treated equally. हाँ आप हमसे उम्र में जरूर बड़ी हैं. हाँ आपका तजुर्बा बहुत ज्यादा है हम सबसे. But that does not mean we don't have the right to keep our opinions. मुझे लगता है उनके घर में होने से उनकी जो ऑरा है जो कि इतनी ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग और इंटिमिडेटिंग कभी कभी हो जाती है that makes a huge difference. It does makes a huge impact on us, you know, as youngsters, because we have to be very calculative with our words with her. Even when it comes to fighting, जो मेरा एक किचन वाला भी उनके साथ एक झगड़ा हुआ था, शायद मेरे एज का कोई होता तो मेरा रिएक्शन अलग ही निकलता. I would have literally ripped that person off left, right, center. But then उनके साथ I had to be a little calculative because obviously मेरे माँ बाप ने मुझे ये नहीं सिखाया है बड़ों से ऐसे बात करना, या मुझसे बड़ों ने या मेरी मॉम, वो मेरी मॉम की उम्र की है, मेरी मॉम ने आज तक मुझ पे ऐसे चढ़ाई करके या बॉम्बार्ड नहीं किए हैं अपने थॉट्स. तो फॉर मी दैट होल सिनेरियो इटसेल्फ वाज वेरी अनएक्सपेक्टेड, यू नो, कि ये हो क्या रहा है. सो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर somebody like me to react to a situation like that, especially when there's someone elderly involved. तो उनका कहीं ना कहीं होना उस शो में काफी इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है दूसरों पे, बिकॉज वो अपने थॉट्स इम्पोज कर रही हैं. एंड हम उन्हें कुछ भी बोले तो आप मुझे मत बताइए, मैं महेश भट्ट की बेटी हूँ, मैं ये हूँ वो हूँ, और आप तभी दूसरों को सुपीरियर बुला रही हैं, आप तभी दूसरों को ग्रेसलेस बुला रही हैं. सो दैट्स समथिंग व्हिच इज नॉट फेयर.
Right. And I think, you know, I always like to think that reality shows like this, they're also very introspective as well. I mean, in many ways. See, आपको दूसरों का behaviors के बारे में तो पता चलता है, but आपको खुद के बारे में भी बहुत सारी चीजें पता चलती है. What would you say is something that you've discovered about yourself which you perhaps never realized before?
I really thought that I was, I really thought that I am very impulsive, very aggressive. I react to things very quickly. But after going to this house, I realized one thing about myself, that sometimes I can take a back seat and let the person bark as much as the person wants to, and not react with the same rage as the opponent person is. Sometimes you can be a bigger person. I realized this thing about myself, that I went ahead and spoke to Gia and confronted. So I realized that I believe in confrontations, something that I wouldn't have done outside in the outside world, probably. But in a situation like that, under that circumstances, I thought, yeah, sure, I think confront karna sahi rahega mere liye. And because, wo cheez kahin na kahin mujhe kha rahi thi. So I felt that I became the bigger person because I went ahead and spoke to Gia and sorted things out, जो कि बाहर की दुनिया में नहीं हो रही थी. So, yeah, I did realize a lot of things about my nature.
Right. I mean, obviously, with the Avinash and Gia, there's clearly a lot of things that have gone on. You've said that a lot of things that he said is not factually very true. There's a lot of fabricated stuff, apparent, which is what you have said. Um, uh, if you have that opportunity to speak with him outside the house, would you speak to him? What would be the situation right now?
I personally feel that he's lied on national television. So I would want to go back and give him that answer on the same platform on national television, that what you said was not true. And, especially when you're wrong in the relationship, be man enough to not to talk about it. Shut your mouth if you can. That you have an option to not to speak. But here you're clearly lying. You're saying I was out of love. Uske baad to main jo bhi karu sahi hai. I think that's wrong. But even if I feel come out, I don't think I'm gonna waste my energy into investing myself and telling him that, showing him the mirror that this is what you said was wrong. I definitely would want to go back in the show and give him that peace of mind rather.
Do you think, but realistically, do you think that will happen? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, my journey is incomplete, honestly. I am not satisfied because I wish Bigg Boss would have showed me that footage of these two guys. I would have reacted in a different way altogether. I would have really called him out. But that's something, that opportunity I didn't get. So I think, but Janta pagal nahi hai. Since they're saying Janta hai asli boss, so Janta sab dekh rahi hai. उन्हें भी पता है कौन सही है कौन गलत. So I think उनको वो थप्पड़ पड़ ही चुका है already. He's not been liked by too many people anyway. So
Right. Now, when you're inside the house, I think, the dynamics you have, you only see it from that one dimension and that one perspective. But then when you come out, that's when
yes.
you realize the bigger picture that's involved. So I think when you were in the house, how do you think the perspectives have changed after coming out? Maybe towards certain people you were good friends with, perhaps people you didn't even
Yeah.
like as well.
Definitely, the perspectives do change. You're right, because a lot of things don't reach out to you when you're in the house and people are talking behind your back. So, like I did reunite with Gia, but I didn't expect her to talk so much of shit against me behind my back. So my perspective about the whole situation changed. If I had known in the house that this is something that she's spoken about me, I would have definitely confronted her straight up. That, I didn't expect something like this from you because you've seen me going through shit in life during that whole breakup thing happened or whatever. I think I was more lenient towards Avinash as well. I was just discussing the game with him, to which he did bounce back at me. But if had I been in a situation where Bigg Boss would have shown me that clip, or if I had known from someone that this guy is really talking shit about the relationship and is straight up lying, I would have definitely given it back to him. So the perspective has changed after I came back and I saw the episodes.
And I have to say as well, I feel like, firstly, it's great to see predominantly women in the house. And I think it's wonderful to see that energy that's there. But I think, do you think, because I asked you a bit about, the whole women supporting women type of conversation, but do you think this show will also perhaps provide a different insight to feminism as well? How do you think feminism, the definition of that, has changed, if at all, after doing the show?
You really think so, Anuj? Because I feel women there in that show are just letting down other women. I feel nobody's standing up for right. If you saw yesterday's episode, the way Pooja ma'am had put down Alia, You know, she made a very harsh statement on that एक जो सिर्फ बच्चा पैदा करने से आप माँ नहीं बन जाते. You know, statements like that, that was a little too much, I feel. And जो एक sanitary pad वाला incident हुआ कि वो भूल गई अंदर वॉशरूम में, जिस बेसिस पे बेबिका ने बवाल किया है घर के अंदर. मैं थी जो सेकेंड डे की बात है, बेबिका हैड लेफ्ट हर सैनिटरी नैपकिन इनसाइड एंड आई कॉल्ड हर आउट दैट यू नो हु इज चमिंग हियर गाइस, प्लीज वो आप भूल गए हो, आप फेंक दो खुद ही, आई एम नॉट गोना टच इट. आई डिडंट मेक अ ह्यूज ruckus out of it. I was like, okay, like me as a girl, I understand these are very sensitive issues, and you know, ठीक है भूल गई, ऐसा नहीं है आपको उन्हें उठाने के लिए बोला या उनका इंटेंशन ये था कि पूजा मैम का वॉशरूम में झगड़ा हुआ है, so I would purposely leave this behind. I don't think her intention was that. It was something which was very unintentional. I feel in that show women are just putting down women, man. Like बहुत sensitive issues जो कि आज भी बेबिका ने, I think इसको मनीषा की बात पे उसने कुछ उसकी मौकरी बनाई उसकी लैंग्वेज को लेकर. यस शी कम्स फ्रॉम बिहार, उनका डायलेक्ट है वैसा. वो उन्होंने कहा कि मैं कोई यू नो आईसीआईसीआई बोर्ड से या इससे नहीं पढ़ी लिखी हूँ और मेरा डायलेक्ट है ही ऐसा. तो बेबिका मेड अ मॉकरी आउट ऑफ हर डायलेक्ट एंड हर लैंग्वेज ऑल्सो. सो मुझे बस लग रहा है कि वहां पे लोग रीजंस ढूंढ रहे हैं एक दूसरे को लेट डाउन करने का. सो आई डोंट थिंक एनी वुमेन इज अपलिफ्टिंग अनदर वुमेन देयर इन दैट शो क्लियरली. I mean, at least what my in my situation, I mean, I felt that I was there for Akansha through thick and thin, you know. I was, and genuinely I was there. ऐसा नहीं I was there दिखावे के लिए and पीछे मैं जाकर back bitching कर रही थी. मैंने उन्हें बोला भी था that I got your back till the end. If I mean it, I say it, I mean it. So I feel वहाँ पे, especially Pooja ma'am has a very important role to play there.
Hmm. And I think also misogyny is equally quite rampant, I think, in the house as well. I remember watching that episode. I mean, honestly, just as a neutral viewer, just seeing the way you were shouted on, I think after that whole, you know, the negotiations that you had to do for the BB currency, I think that was quite difficult for me to watch. And I think so many times, even there was an episode where Jad and Gia are speaking, and the way she was spoken down to, I felt very uncomfortable. I think just seeing the misogyny being exercised in a certain way. But I think
Yeah.
perhaps it's maybe this really is reality, you know? Maybe all this while, even though we've been following conversations on social media about change and all these things, but then, you know, when we see stuff like this, it really brings to surface how much we have to evolve as a society, right?
Have to evolve in a lot of ways, and especially when you say you're a 50-year-old woman, you've seen life so much, you've seen life more than us, then ma'am, I'm sorry, we're better off that way. Because you know, her intention of barging and bombarding at me was just to let me down. You know, that was her clear intention. Because if I had a ruckus with her, if I had like a tiff with her, or it was about nomination, which she felt bad about, and you're bombarding all your thoughts on me, is a different issue altogether. But here the conversation was baseless, Anuj, if you saw that. मैं तो वहां पे बैठ के चावल धो रही थी यार, मेरा तो कोई था भी नहीं कॉन्टेक्स्ट उस चीज में. She is wiser than you, she is wiser than you, Manisha is wiser than both of you. Who are you to decide that? आप मेरी मम्मी हो पहले तो. क्या आप मेरे लाइफ के बारे में इतना जानती हो कि आप इतने स्टेटमेंट्स पास कर रही हो दैट आई एम नॉट वाइज? ओके, यू अपलिफ्ट दैट पर्सन, आई डोंट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम, बट डोंट डाउनग्रेड मी एट लीस्ट. You have no right to do that. You like her, you are biased towards her, fine. I'm not saying you don't say good things about Manisha. Please go ahead if she's your favorite. Why are you putting me down, but who's given you that right to put me down and uplift somebody else?
Yeah.
Especially when you don't even know me. You're personally attacking me, and then you're telling me you guys are gang attacking on her. If this is not gang attack, if this is not personal attack, you think I am loud, I don't listen. Please hear yourself out first. Look at the way you speak to people. Look at the way you pounce on people. You have absolutely no right.
Yeah.
So I think the whole conversation was very baseless. उन्होंने कहीं और का भड़ास मुझ पे निकाला. उनके दिमाग में मेरे को लेकर ऑलरेडी एक जजमेंट थी. उन्हें लगा मैं सुपीरियर हूं क्योंकि मैं उनका ईगो सूद नहीं कर रही हूं फ्रॉम डे वन.
Yes, for sure. I mean, obviously, you did say that you would like to go back into the house.
Yes.
If you did go back, what would you do?
I would definitely confront Avinash, not Sachdev, actually Sachdev. वो झूठा इंसान है. He's not Sachdev. So I will confront Avinash Sachdev पहले तो कि आपने किस बेसिस पे ये झूठ बोले हैं that I was out of love and I didn't do shit. आपने मुझ पे एक बार नहीं 2 बार cheat किया है. So please have the guts to face it, own it, be a man. Clearly, I didn't get my closure, Anuj. So I will go back and confront this with him. And I will call out on him that, this is what you're saying is an absolute lie. I would like to confront Jia for a lot of things that you were there in my life when, my life went down. I was depressed. I went through the whole breakup phase. Still, you were on his side, which was clearly wrong. She was aware of a lot of things, but फिर भी उन्हें गलत का साथ देना सही समझा.
Right. Well, look, I think there's definitely a lot of hurt there. I think that's definitely coming from a place where you're really feeling very, very upset, and I understand
Yes.
that as well.
Yes.
But I think now going forward, Palak, obviously, Bigg Boss is a chapter that remains as a question mark for you. I think full stop to filhal hai nahi. But what do you think will give you strength right now in coping with the after effects of this experience? And what is work looking like for you now?
Work is definitely looking better for me because I have been reached out to a few projects. Web is on my plateau right now.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
hoping to, yes. Let's see. You guys will definitely know about it. So stay tuned about that. Apart from that, how I'm going to cope up with this, definitely I am upset. I am disappointed with my own self. I think next thing I want to do is just travel, take a flight and just travel. I think that is going to be something that's just going to make me feel better. And I'm going to bring myself back in the game. And life goes on, man. Life goes on.
Life goes on indeed. No, life does go in indeed. But look, I think it's a tough one. But if I was to say to you, I mean, सिर्फ 6 हफ्तों का ही खेल है ये. Who do you see as your Bigg Boss OTT season 2 winner?
Abhishek Malhan, Fukra Insan. All the way I'm supporting Abhishek, man. वो बंदा रियल है. The way he's playing, he's on the face. सिर्फ मैं चाहती हूँ कोई बस जाके उसे अंदर बोले कि खेल यार, तू खेल, तू डर मत. वो थोड़ा सा सहम रहा है. But I think he'll buck up. उसको शायद ये डर भी लग गया है कि जो भी पूजा मैम से पंगे ले रहा है वो जा रहा है. Because उसने बाद में जाकर उनसे चीजें सॉर्ट करने की भी ट्राई की. And I was like, Abhishek, no, stick by to your word. So, but कोई नहीं, he'll be back. He is a tough player. खा जाएगा वो अविनाश को गेम में.
And I think everyone is also seeing the bigger picture because I think everyone has seen कि Bigg Boss एक ऐसा show है कि obviously जब आप खेलते हो तो फिर you have to survive that moment, right? But I think it's also that balance, isn't it, of maintaining your voice and then also having that dignity. And I think Abhishek seems to be getting
Yes.
that combination quite right. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see the sort of journey that he's had. And I think it's great to see a YouTuber. I mean, in the Bigg Boss house. I mean, it's so
Yes.
empowering. And also, I've noticed that there's also a sense of elitism when it comes to that as well. That it almost seems like the TV or certain maybe actors, perhaps who have had a bit more, experienced roles in life and have done really well, they kind of pitted against the new sort of fresh talents, perhaps Gen Z sort of talents
Gen
as
Z.
well. Do you think that's also something that's there? That distinction is also there in the house too?
I totally agree with you on that, Anuj, because I personally felt that, Bigg Boss is such a platform, whether you're an actor, you're an influencer, or you're a YouTuber, we all are on the same platform. So that means we all should be treated equally, nobody's less or more. So I did feel that the moment I entered the house, there were already two groups divided of actors and non-actors. That was the case, and I feel somewhere Pooja ma'am is just leading that core group, trying to lead rather. So I wouldn't say the groups have been divided between actors and non-actors. It's more like people who are okay with being the submissive ones, have gone into that group, and people who don't choose to go according to others basically have the leadership quality and would want to lead the game their own ways and play it individually have gone this side.
Right.
So that's the difference that I sensed in the house.
Mhm.
I personally didn't want to be leaded upon or somebody who would tell me how to voice my own opinion, because I have come in the game as an individual, you
Mhm.
know. So I am somebody who doesn't likes to be overpowered by someone. Hence, I chose to be on the other side and not this side.
Yeah, and I wanted to also ask you, actually, very honestly, Palak, do you kind of feel, because I understand now after speaking with you about, your mindset and your ideas of going into the house, but do you also feel that maybe you perhaps allowed yourself to be intimidated a little? Do you think that maybe the experience did overwhelm you a little, which is perhaps why you were not able to give it back like that? Do you think
You're
there
right.
was that sense? Hmm.
Yeah, you're right, Anuj, because I'll tell you what, 4 days is not enough for me to give it back to people. Because those 2, 3 days you take time to be in the game, to know people. But where I had to protect myself, where I had to give it back, I did, be it Avinash or be it Pooja for that matter. But then initially you're in that phase where you want to know, Acha, this is the person I can trust. Ye shayad mera dost nahi ban sakta. So it was too soon for me to even react, because I didn't want to. I had a graph to the game, Anuj.
Hmm.
I had a graph that I don't want to go on day one and just start yelling and screaming at Avinash, oh, you did this with me. Then that would just feel like my game is all about him.
Hmm.
But my game was more than just him. There is more to my personality. There is more to me as an individual. I would have gotten to that level as well, but I was waiting. And I was not even aware of a lot of things, the shit he's spoken about my back. Somebody would have come and told me exactly what I'm saying. I would have reacted in a different way.
Hmm.
But that didn't happen. The story just ended before it could reach to me.
Right. But perhaps there's also maybe a good thing in that also. Maybe, because sometimes I've also realized that rejection is also protection. And I feel, I mean, in that sense, I mean, obviously not that you've been rejected per se, but if you
Yeah.
get the idea. So I think perhaps there is a good thing, and maybe now you can just move forward. You've had that, I guess maybe a fear that, of you confronting people from a blast from the past. At least now you can say that, wo ho gaya, ab move on karte hain. I think that's
On तो
also.
मैं पहले कर चुकी थी अनुज. उस इंसान से मूव ऑन तो मैं कब का कर चुकी हूँ और बहुत अच्छे से मूव ऑन कर चुकी हूँ. And definitely I'm very happy in my life today, but it's just that that rage,
Yeah.
that little bit of rage, that this is something he shouldn't have said.
I think it's
But
closure. Yeah. Issue of closure, I think.
that's how people are seeing and I'm glad, although the journey was very short lived, but at least I've gained that love from people and I've come back.
Right.
And जिसको गालियां पड़ रही हैं वो ऑलरेडी अंदर है, बट हाँ, जनता पागल नहीं है, सब देखती है.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, for sure. But I think onwards and upwards for sure. And I think, Palak, I mean, it's been so dramatic over these past few days. I mean, I cannot even imagine as viewers, our blood pressure goes up. For you guys as actual contestants, for what entertainment for us is actually a livelihood for all of you.
Yes,
So I must say it's a tough one. But look, thank you so much, Palak, for joining me on Filme Shilmy. It's
thank
been
you
such a
so
pleasure
much.
to have you.